Vicky thought learning Illustrator felt like climbing Mount Everest in flip-flops. Then she created her first repeating pattern. And today I want to tell you what Vicky and 157 other creative women proved during our most recent Doodles coaching week. Welcome to the Creative Business Spark podcast. I'm Anne Follett, creative entrepreneur, online educator, and business coach. After getting laid off in my late 50s, I found myself adrift with no income and no sense of self. But my mom always said, pick yourself up, dust yourself off, and keep moving forward. So I decided to reinvent myself and build an online creative business from scratch. Now I help women like you do the same. This podcast is where art, mindset, and entrepreneurship meet. I'll share behind-the-scenes lessons, inspiring stories, mindset shifts, and more. Let this be the spark you need to build or grow a creative business with joy and purpose. Let's dive in because it's never too late to create. Welcome to this week's episode of the Creative Business Spark podcast. Let's talk about what happened during this most recent Doodles coaching week, because it reminded me of 3 truths that every creative woman needs to hear. Vicky was one of the 158 creative souls who signed up for my most recent Doodles coaching week. She loves to doodle, she's always been creative, and she has beautiful ideas tucked away in her sketchbooks and in her creative studio. But the minute that she thought about moving those designs into a computer, a wall of panic went up. Adobe Illustrator felt too big, too technical, too overwhelming. And like so many women in my community, that fear quickly turned into a story she started to tell herself. Maybe I'm too old to learn this. Maybe my brain just doesn't work this way. Maybe this is for other people, but not for me. And if you've ever opened Adobe Illustrator and immediately wanted to close your laptop, you know exactly what I'm talking about. It can feel like you've stepped into the cockpit of an airplane and someone has said, okay, now fly. There are tools everywhere, panels everywhere, icons everywhere. And suddenly this beautiful dream that you have of seeing your artwork on fabric, wrapping paper, wallpaper, stationery, apparel, gift products, all kinds of different products, it starts to feel impossible. But during the Doodles coaching week, Vicky made one small but powerful decision. She decided to trust the process. She showed up for every session. She put her blinders on. She stopped trying to figure out all of the Adobe Illustrator at once. And she simply followed the step-by-step framework that I teach, one manageable piece at a time. And then a few days into the program, her breakthrough happened. I received a message from her that said, Anne, before this week, learning Adobe Illustrator felt like climbing Mount Everest in flip-flops. But by following your daily steps and having you as my guide, it felt like taking a beautiful, clear path up the mountain instead. And I just created my very first repeating pattern. I mean, Mount Everest in flip-flops. Isn't that the perfect description? It made me smile, and it also made me pause, because that is exactly how so many creative women feel when they first start. They are not afraid because they lack talent. They are not afraid because they are not creative enough. They are afraid because no one has ever broken the process down for them in a way that feels clear, calm, and doable. And that is what I want to talk about today. If you've ever looked at Adobe Illustrator and thought, I could never learn this, I want you to know that fear is not the final word. Our most recent Doodles coaching week reminded me of 3 powerful truths about what's possible when creative women have the right guide, the right process, and the right community to support them. The first truth is this: beginners can create real results quickly. One of the things I love most about the Doodles Coaching Week is that it gives creative women proof. Not theory, not vague encouragement, not someday, maybe, but real proof. In this most recent cohort, 158 women said yes to learning something new. Many of them arrived with the same nervous energy and fears that Vicki had. They loved their artwork, but they were not sure they could handle the technology. Most had never opened Adobe Illustrator before. Some had opened it, panicked, and closed it right away. Others had watched tutorials online and somehow felt even more confused than when they started. And I want to say very clearly that that is so normal. Adobe Illustrator is a very powerful program, but powerful does not need to mean impossible. The problem is that most beginners are shown far too much, far too soon. They're introduced to every tool or every panel or every menu or every option and every possible path forward. No wonder our brains feel like they are trying to drink from a fire hose. The Doodles Coaching Week works because we do the opposite. We focus on one outcome: creating your first repeating pattern. That's it. You do not need to master Adobe Illustrator in just a week and a half. You do not need to understand every menu. You do not need to become a professional designer overnight. You only need to follow the next step in front of you. Take a photo of a simple doodle, bring it into Adobe Illustrator, turn it into vector artwork, add color, build the repeat, test the pattern to make sure it's working. One step, then the next, and that is where real progress begins. The first win might be as simple as opening Illustrator without panic. The next win might be importing your sketch. Then suddenly the student who thought, I can't do this, is looking at her own artwork on the screen. And then comes the moment I love most. She realizes, oh my goodness, that design is mine. That is when the fear begins to loosen its grip. Because now she has evidence of what she can learn, evidence that she can follow the steps, evidence that she can take something she drew by hand and begin turning it into a real repeating pattern. And that evidence matters. The second truth is this: the right guide makes hard things manageable. There is a reason Vicki described Adobe Illustrator as Mount Everest in flip-flops. When you are standing at the bottom of something unfamiliar, without a map, without the right equipment, and without someone who knows the trail, even a beautiful dream can feel impossible. That's why the guide matters so much. I do not believe my students need someone to impress them with how much they know about Adobe Illustrator. That does not help them. They need someone who remembers what it feels like to be brand new at it. They need someone who can say, click here, ignore that for now, this part is important, that part can wait. Don't worry, you are exactly where you need to be. That kind of guidance is not fluff. It is what makes learning possible, because when you are brand new, your brain can only hold so much at once. And if someone gives you too much information too quickly, it does not make you feel empowered. It makes you feel buried or behind. So inside the Doodles Coaching Week, I am very intentional about simplifying the path. I do not ask beginners to explore Illustrator and hope they stumble into a repeating pattern successfully. I do not hand them a giant list of tools and expect them to sort it all out. I give you a clear path, a doable path, a path that has worked for hundreds and hundreds of students before you. And when the path is clear, students can save their energy for the creative decisions that really matter. What doodles do I want to use? What colors feel joyful? What kind of repeating pattern do I want to create? Can I imagine this on fabric? Could this become wrapping paper? Wouldn't this be beautiful as wallpaper or a notebook cover or maybe a scarf? That is the magic. The technology begins to move into the background and the creative work comes forward. I often tell my students, you do not need to know everything. You just need to know the next thing. And that one sentence changes everything. Because when the task becomes smaller, courage has room to grow. The third truth is this. Community turns fear into momentum. This may be my favorite part of the Doodles Coaching Week. When someone joins, she's not just getting lessons. She's stepping into a community of other women who are also learning, trying, asking questions, making mistakes, and celebrating their victories, all while discovering what's possible. And that matters more than people realize, because fear loves isolation. It gets louder when we are alone with it in our thoughts. Everyone else probably understands this. I'm the only one who's confused. I should have figured this out by now. But in community, those thoughts begin to lose their power. A student asks a question, and 5 other women silently think, thank goodness she asked that, because I was wondering the same thing. Someone posts her first pattern, and another student thinks, if she can do it, maybe I can too. Someone admits she is scared, and suddenly the whole room softens because everyone recognizes that feeling. This is why I never treat community as an extra. It's part of the learning. It's part of the courage. It's part of the transformation. When a woman sees another woman in her late 50s, 60s, or 70s and beyond create her first repeating pattern, something shifts. The dream is no longer abstract. It becomes real, close, possible. And that is why the wins inside the Doodles Coaching Week are so contagious. One person's breakthrough becomes another person's permission slip. One finished pattern becomes a spark. And one brave question helps the whole group move forward. By the end of the coaching week, the energy is completely different from where it began. The fear may still be there a little bit, of course. Learning something new always includes several little wobbles, but now the fear is mixed with evidence. Evidence that they can open Adobe Illustrator, evidence that you can follow the steps, evidence that you can turn your artwork into a repeating pattern, evidence that you're not too old, and it's not too late. So here is what our most recent Doodles Coaching Week reminded me. Beginners can create real results quickly when they focus on one clear outcome and take the process one baby step at a time. The right guide makes hard things manageable by simplifying the path and reducing the overwhelm. And community turns fear into momentum because we borrow courage from one another until our own confidence catches up. That is what Vicky experienced. That is what so many of my students experienced. And that is what I want every creative woman listening today to believe is possible for you. Your doodles, sketches, watercolor paintings do not have to stay tucked away in a drawer or hidden in your studio. They can become fabric. They can become wrapping paper. They can become wallpaper, apparel, stationery, gift bags, cards, and so much more. But even more than that, they can become evidence that you are still learning, evidence that your creativity matters, evidence that it is never too late to create something beautiful and bring it into the world. If you're ready to create your first repeating pattern with me, I would love to invite you to join us for the next round of the Doodles Coaching Week in September. Early bird tickets are on sale right now, and you can save $40 off the regular price of $77 when you claim your spot now for just $37. Come join us, follow my step-by-step framework, and let me help you turn one of your doodles, sketches, or watercolor pieces into a beautiful repeating pattern that you will be so proud of. You can save your seat at members.artwithann.com/doodles. I'll put that link on screen, or let me say it again, members.artwithann.com/doodles. So here's a question for you. What would become possible for you if you stopped telling yourself Adobe Illustrator is too hard and simply trusted the next step? Thank you so much for listening today. If you're listening to the podcast, I would love for you to leave a review or forward it on to a friend who might need to hear this message today. If you're watching on YouTube, please hit the subscribe button. It really does help get my videos out to more people. And leave a comment below. I read every single one and respond. I always like to say in closing that I am Anne LaFollette. And remember, it's never too late to create. That's it for today, and I'll see you again next week.